So, so this is the overview of PEMF and Vibe for Arizona Health. So the agenda we're going to talk about today is what is PEMF. Some people are familiar with it, some people are not. What ailments can it help living well with? And that's living well with is a weird term that is strange grammar, but it's what the FDA requires as far as the terms that you can use, and we'll talk about that a little more. Vibe is the device, and RFT is resonance frequency therapy, which is the term that I've coined for what I'm doing. So we'll talk about how does it work, some of the history background, research, some of the health studies that I'm doing and my company, and some of what the partnership options are with you and other people, and then conclusions. So PEMF, what it is, it stands for Pulse Electromagnetic Field Therapy, PEMF. And the Earth it's naturally occurring, has been since the beginning of time as far as we know. The Earth puts out several different bands of this PEMF frequencies, 7.83 hertz, 14, 20, and they're often referred to as Schumann frequencies. So it's all around you. It's not anything new, and that part is natural. And one way to think about the PEMF as the therapy is nothing happens in nature or your body without some kind of energy exchange, right? I mean, if you're out camping, you're trying to roast a hot dog, it doesn't work without an energy exchange between the fire and the hot dog. Same with the cells in your body, chemical reactions, all kinds of different things. So what it does is PEMF restores and replenishes damaged cells. It's non-invasive. Therapeutic PEMF, and this is a thing that people confuse often, it is not the same as harmful EMF, like from cell phones and radio towers. PEMF is an alternating current, so it collapses back on itself. It's not transmitting out into space. So it's actually completely different, except for being electromagnetic energy. This form of therapy can have both physical and mental benefits that we'll talk about. So what ailments can it help living well with? So, and the disclaimer I should set up front is I cannot diagnose, treat, or cure anything, right? So what the FDA allows you to do for general wellness devices, which is what this is to say you can help living well. You didn't cure it or treat it, but you're help living well with it. For example, if you had back pain and a patient presented with an 8, they ran a therapy, they left with a 2, you didn't cure their back pain, but it got better. Same with PTSD. If somebody has a score of 70 and after the treatment it goes down to 30, then they're living well with it because their symptoms are less. Same with insulin resistance. So we have several customers who, were on 80 units insulin a day. They're now down to 5 or 0. And I didn't cure diabetes, but they're living well with it because it doesn't cost as much for the insulin and they're not having to inject themselves as much. So these protocols, all of these are individual protocols on the Vibe device. They're all unique. They're nowhere else except on that device. I have 47 different copyrights on the software. The main things I've been concentrating on is PTSD and trauma is number 1. Number 2 is anxiety. 3 is sleep, and 4 is pain. But I have data on almost all of these. I just don't have enough clinical data to make some statistical claims. PTSD, I definitely do. That's been one of the main things I've been concentrating on. When people think of PTSD, they often think about the military, but obviously it's way more prevalent in just civilians as well. And the excuse me, the number 1 cause of PTSD in the United States is actually car accidents. So those are all the protocols that we have. I didn't intend to start out this way, but I get calls when people say, hey, I have such and such, what should I run? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just trying to use common sense. So just 2 weeks ago, I had someone that told me they were itching on their arms and their skin that was debilitating. And I said, well, run allergy and run general inflammation. And I just got an email from her yesterday, said it completely went away. So there's things like that. I've had one person, a 17-year-old young woman, told me, Mark, I've never had a date in my life because I have Tourette's, and I'm too embarrassed to go out with a boy or a young man. And she ran brain balancing, and it got rid of her Tourette's. So there's some crazy stuff like that that's happened with it, where I just try to piece some of the protocols that are there, is try this one and see if it works for you, type thing. Can you hear me okay still? No?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So what is Vibe and RFT? So Vibe is what I'm calling the world's only pocket PEMF device. So it fits in your pocket, like you see there in the back pocket. You can wear it in your front pocket. I initially started off with people wearing it as a lanyard, which you still can do around your neck. But even myself, when I use it, I find it's much more convenient just to put it in my pocket. So there's no drugs, there's no side effects, there's no bozone. If you're old enough to remember a comedian called Rich Hall back in the 70s, he had a thing called sniglets, and sniglets were words that didn't exist in the dictionary but should. And boson was one of them. It was that invisible layer around people that stops new ideas from getting in. So you got to keep an open mind with this stuff and this technology. But yeah, that's what we're trying to promote, is no boson. So as I said, it's categorized as an FDA general wellness device. So somewhere in the conversation, people usually ask me, is it FDA approved? And if you're familiar with medical devices, a fraction of a percent of devices are actually approved. A large majority of them are 510K cleared, which is a class 2 medical device. This is safer than that. It's an FDA general wellness device, which the majority of magnetic PEMF devices on the newer ones on the market today are in that same category. So as I said, it's non-invasive. You put it in your pocket, you use it while you're cooking, cleaning, watching TV, in your computer, reading, walking. One of the huge things we've had success with is sleep, and that's a 45-minute protocol. I tell people, just run it an hour before you go to bed. You're watching TV, put it in your pocket. It's about 2/3 the size of your phone, and it's extremely lightweight. So the first time you hold it in your hand, you're going to go, hey, this thing is like weighs almost nothing, for a reason. Because if you're going to put it around your neck, you don't want it to have much weight to it. So a lot of design went into making this thing durable but extremely lightweight. So what I'm calling it is resonance frequency therapy, or RFT. And to simplify it, what it's doing, say, PTSD, for example, is a fairly complex protocol. But what it's doing is it's going through a symphony of targeted frequency pairs. So frequency A is what's wrong, B is where is it, like inflammation in the elbow. PTSD, if you may or may not be aware of this, that's a full body ailment. It's every part of the brain, it's the skin, all the organs. So it goes through about 96 pairs of 76 pairs of frequencies. And so each one of these, as I said earlier, they're all unique to the Vibe. They're unique to the Resona Health. In the future, we'll be coming out with lights that use the same frequencies and vibration in chairs and things like that. But for now, we're using the PEMF. So those protocols are unique. So how does it work? It recharges your cells' batteries and massages the cell's membrane. It's kind of like a spa for your body's cells. Most people, that's the simplest way to explain it. The frequencies resonate with the water in your body. This is the theory to transfer the energy to the cells. The energy level is so low, most people are like, hey, this can't possibly work, but it does. Actually, the energy level is so low, it does not penetrate the cell membrane. It goes through the interstitial fluid between the cells. So it's kind of massaging the outside of the cell, which, as you probably know, is where a lot of metabolism goes on. So I already mentioned this. The magnetic field transfers energy. The frequency pairs tell them what to do and where to go. And to get the maximum effectiveness, you must be properly hydrated. That means 4 glasses, 12-ounce glasses of water within the 4 hours before the therapy. So we know that is probably resonating with the water in your body is the mechanism of action, because if you're not hydrated, it still works, but not near as well. So in almost all cases, when somebody tells me it didn't work for them, which is rare, I'll tell them you either didn't use it 3 to 4 times a week, you used it once, put it on the shelf, or you weren't hydrated. And then they'll go back. I've had several people do that, go back, and then they apologize a couple weeks later and go, you're right, I wasn't drinking enough water. I had one guy tell me, I go, you sure you're hydrated? And he said, yes, I had a protein drink last week. I'm like, that doesn't count. So you got to drink water to make sure it resonates with the body. So some of the history background, the frequencies is not new. They've been around for over 100 years. What happened in 1934 was a thing called the Flexner Report. Made everything but drugs and surgery illegal. They were pulling funding from research universities. It was a mess. So basically, a lot of that, there's a lot of stimulation, a lot of electronic stimulation treatment therapies going on at the turn of the century. And it all pretty much died in 1934 for that reason, because doctors would lose their licenses, which is kind of crazy because you can think of it as chemical, mechanical, electrical. We do chemical processes all the time. You're putting chemicals in your body, drugs. Mechanical, we have, stents. We have, you know, uh, all kinds of mechanical things, a cast on your arm, right? But we kind of ignore the electrical part of our world, which doesn't make sense. But in the medical world, that's unfortunately the case. The frequencies are also kind of based on Henry Van Gelder's 1940 frequencies, and those frequencies were resurrected in 1990 by a chiropractor, which is the more modern day use of it. There's 8,000 practitioners that have been trained on it. The problem is those devices are expensive, they're bulky, and they're kind of being held hostage in a clinical environment. So my goal has been to make an affordable pocket size device, which is what the Vibe is. Give me one sec. Okay, sorry about that. So research. So again, this is not new, and I get a lot of friends and stuff who go, "What is this voodoo you're trying to sell, Mark?" It's not voodoo. There's a lot of data on it, and I'm a rocket scientist, so I'm extremely skeptical. And I've been researching, looking at this for over 20 years now, and I was like, this can't actually work, but it does. So there's a 25,000 published articles on PEMF that are out there. If you just Google or go to PubMed and put in PEMF, you'll find, last time I looked, 600 peer-reviewed articles on it. NASA's been using it since the 1970s. We actually, on the space station, they have to use it to maintain bone density, and it would be impossible to get to Mars without it because of loss of bone density in space. It's been FDA approved for non-union fractures for a long time. There's been data measured where it's up to 500% increase in ATP, which is the main fuel for your cells. And there's a lot of, instead of just subjective data, there is a lot of objective data measuring blood and cytokines and those things for pain reduction. You can see the cytokines will go down almost immediately with some of the pain protocols, which is kind of seems impossible, but it does. And I've been telling people for a long time about the Alzheimer's protocol and 40 hertz and what you can do with light. And did somebody just join? You look real fast. Nope, I don't see anybody else. So, okay, let's go back to see if I mess this up. So, can you still see the slide there? Donald, can you still see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So MIT, they discovered by accident that playing with rats, doing something else, that 40 hertz flickering light was reversing Alzheimer's or the plaque in the brain, and so they're doing human trials right now at 40 hertz. There's a whole story of they're not doing the whole spectrum of what I tried to teach them, but they weren't listening to me, so they're just doing 40 hertz, but there's a lot more to it. At-home clinical studies that I'm doing for Arizona Health, I've done a PTSD study, and for the medical people in the world, it has a P factor of 0.0007. So some really good, I'll talk a little bit more about PTSD in a minute, but again, that was one of the main things I was concentrating on. So right now I have a 93% success rate in reducing symptoms of PTSD and trauma. That's measured using the PLC-5 questionnaire from the Veterans Administration. And what it is, it's 20 questions, 0 to 4, 4 being the worst. So the highest score you could get is an 80. The VA says if you have anything above 31 to 33, you likely have PTSD. And so we've seen, like as it says, 93% of the people had symptoms come down. 2 out of 3 of them were clinically and statistically significant. And this was a 30-day at-home pilot study where they were told to use it 3 to 4 times a week for 30 days. So that's all the good news. The pseudo bad news is about half of the people will tell you it worked because they forgot how bad it felt 6 weeks earlier or 30 days earlier. So I've gone through a lot of self-reporting report cards for people. Fill this out at the beginning, fill this out at the end, and then I have to present it to them and say, because I've had people say, hey, I don't think it really did much. I'm like, you went from a 72 to a 12. So it did something, at least you think it did, right? So that's the only kind of bad news that we've had. Is that people kind of forget. And that's part of what the protocol is doing, is trying to, quote, erase some bad memories, the fight or flight system, right? There weren't any adverse events really reported, no dropouts, and you can go see details of that study at that link. In fact, I need to make that a hyperlink, but you're going to get this package anyway. So one kind of strange way to look at it, I think, is Earth, asteroids, and elephants. So I already talked about the Earth has a very low frequency that's going from the North to South Pole. 10 years ago, when that asteroid hit Russia, it made a sound wave, a frequency wave, that went around the Earth back and forth twice, like a bell. Okay. And the reason that happened is because that meteor made a very low frequency of like 20 hertz. So the same is true with elephants. They can theoretically communicate up to 20 miles away through infrasound, 5 to 10 hertz. So very low frequencies. The point being, low frequencies kind of key to resonance, and it allows propagation. So from a physics science point of view, people will tell you the magnetic field will drop off really quick, which it does. But I have people wearing it in their shirt pocket and it's making the swelling in the foot go down. The magnetic field isn't strong enough to really reach that with any energy. So it has to be resonating with the water at low frequency. All of these frequencies on this device and everything that I do is under 1,000 hertz, which is extremely, extremely low. So if you think about it like throwing a pebble in a pond, you have the energy at a point in the device, but that wave in the water expands. So that's how the energy and the signal is sent to the rest of the body. So, okay, here's my sales pitch. So there's 2 things with partners I'm looking for, hopefully get you on board, is the minimum advertised price retail for these devices are $399. I allow you to discount them to $249 to give your customers incentive to buy. So this there's affiliate partner program and then wholesale. The affiliate one, you sign up, both of them take a couple minutes, and you just use hyperlinks or emails or posts or images or YouTubes, or print your own card with a QR code on it that simply has your ID at the end of it and have some videos that show you exactly how that works. And then you'd make $50 a unit that was sold. And those are the links. Is the affiliate program has a video, gives you the details on it. And then that Arizona News AM is all the marketing material. So I have videos, images of the device, a lot of different things that you can post and put anywhere you want to, and then just put your link in there. And so that's the easiest one to do. I have some people that are doing both affiliates and wholesale, but that is the affiliate partner program. The wholesale partner program, really easy to sign up, only takes a minute. Then you buy them in 10 packs at $149 each. So then you're selling them. You're the person selling it directly to your client, and then you make $100 per unit. So those are 2 programs, depending on your business model. I have some people that travel all the time and they don't want inventory, so they're just doing the affiliate. People that have walk-in store only or a clinic lean more towards the wholesale partners, or a lot of them are trying to just do both, which is great. So conclusion. So it's a great alternative form of therapy. It's safe and extensively researched. There's no drugs or side effects. Basically recharges your cells' batteries. It's affordable. There's several affordable consumer devices like this out there in the last 3 years, but none of them have the specific protocols that we have. Some of them have a few of them, but they're not using RFT. They're not using paired symphony frequencies going after it. And to my knowledge, I've got the only one that fits in your pocket, which, you're probably familiar with PEMF mats or the Beamer mats stuff. They're $6,000 and you can't take them on an airplane, and they're not discreet at all. Most women wear their cell phone in their back pocket. They can put this in the other pocket. People won't even know it's not a cell phone. So, um, info at Arizona Health, that's the website. So email me, call me anytime.